Safety check for safety sallies. That's it. Basically, it is a copy of the Beretta 21A Bobcat with a couple little caveats. For one, this is not a double single like the Beretta. This is simply a double action only. And by that I mean all you get is when you're pulling back the trigger here, you're pulling back the hammer and dropping it. There's no external hammer, so to speak, of that you can draw back like on the Bobcat. So just a long, heavy trigger pull, and then you have this redundant manual safety, which is completely unnecessary on that kind of a trigger setup, but whatever. So what's so wonderful about this thing? Well, for one, the size. Even though this is a tiny gun, I'll give you a little bit of scale comparison here. This is a full-size Ruger SR9. Grip height difference there. Short that way, obviously short length. However, in spite of that, you can still get a full grip on this. All the fingers on there, and it is very, very well contoured. They did a really good job with making the little finger grooves, thumb indentation, front of the pinky extension here. I mean, it's just like somebody took a block of clay and just smushed it and said, okay, let's make a frame out of that. I mean, it's really nice. Everything's ergonomic and easy to get to. Your barrel release there, magazine release like a American style. Your thumb safety, even though it's completely redundant, at least it is easy to actuate off. And it does turn off a lot easier than it goes on. I mean, this is loosened up now after I've messed with it for a couple months or so, but when I first got this was really hard to push up. It's still pretty stiff. You can't accidentally actuate that, but taking it off though is really easy. It's just a sweep of the thumb. Sights on there are kind of not horrible. I mean, they were usable. Definitely not target shooting. Of course, this is not a target pistol, but even just for plinking, because this is 22 long rifle, it works pretty good. It's better than I've seen on some, like, some 380s and such. So it works for what it is. And again, the feel of it is just, it's really, really comfortable to hold. Points real easy for shooting. And the simplicity of it, being a tilt barrel design, there's really not a whole lot to field strip this. I mean, it's ridiculously simple. You drop your mag, flip up in your barrel, and you just kind of pull this up a little bit more and pull the front of the slide up here like that. Unhook it from this back little, what do you call it, frame rail, and it just pulls out of there. This is basically, that's your field stripped gun. Just slide, barrel, and if you want to clean the mag, there it is. But that's it. I mean, this cleans off real easy. I don't know if it's just because of the texture or the stainless or whatever, but you pretty much just wipe this down and run a couple patches through it and you're good to go. Of course you lube it, but real easy. And then putting it back together, you just push this down in here, click, and you're back in biz. So real simple. Really not a whole lot mechanically, internally to this. It does have a weird setup in that it has two recoil springs. I can't really show. If you ever look at a diagram on one of these, though, it has two recoil springs going down either side of the magazine, which is really bizarre, because there is none in underneath here with the slide like you would normally find on most blowback or lock breech action pistols. So it's a really weird gun and design, but it's very simple though. And the price on these, for this, regardless of whatever roll you're looking at, this is cheap. About $230 I think I paid out the door for this. I think it was like $220, $225 before tax, or it was thereabouts $230. Really cheap. And you're getting a stainless, made in USA, very important. Even though this is a Taurus, this is made in USA, Miami, Florida. Stainless 22 pistol. They do also have these also in 25 ACP. Haven't tried one myself. They don't make one in 32. I don't know why. Beretta has in with their Beretta Tomcat. They have that in 32 ACP. I don't know why Taurus hasn't done that. I don't know if it's just because ACP or 32 ACP is just not that popular. I don't know. But anyways, accuracy on this, even though in spite of this heavy, long trigger that this has, it is really surprisingly accurate. I got this kind of as a just because gun, maybe like as a, a backup pocket pistol. Definitely not something for a primary concealed carry. But really, this is very accurate for what it is. I mean, even though you got some pretty crude fixed sights there, at 15 yards, I was getting some pretty surprisingly decent grouping out of this. It was really good. I mean, it's the trigger, even though it's long and heavy, and the trigger itself, I mean, not the internal parts, but I mean the actual trigger, it's got this skinny, I don't know, it's smooth on the front, but it's really skinny. It kind of digs into your finger after putting a few hundred rounds through it. But yeah, I mean, it's really not hard to bang away on this thing and hit your mark, even at distance. And this is, again, not a target pistol, but even just for plinking or whatever, it does the job pretty well, surprisingly. And as I mentioned, it's stainless and USA made, which are always two huge pluses, no matter what you're looking at it for. It's always good to have. Now, as far as the negatives on this, there's a few things. I mean, it's not stuff that I would consider to be a huge, major thing. To some people, they might be deal breakers, but I don't know. For one thing, it is a little picky about ammo. Being a blowback design pistol, it relies upon the inertia of the cartridge to move the slide back. And just so you know, there's people that say you can't move the slide back, oh, it's not meant to be, you're only supposed to load through that, whatever. You can load this, or you can move that back, whatever. But as I was saying, the blowback action relies upon the inertia of the cartridge, the oomph, I guess you can call it, of the cartridge to cycle the round to kick out the old spent casing and to pick up the next cartridge off the mag. If you have wimpy ammo, either bulk ammo that is underloaded or just subsonic or whatever, it probably won't have enough to kick out the old cartridge all the way or to pick up the next cartridge. I've had a few times with bulk ammo, like say Federal or Winchester bulk, where it had enough to kick out the old one, but you go to pull the trigger and you get a click, you flip this up and look in there and it's empty, and it's like, what the heck? Well, it's because it didn't quite go far enough to pick up the next one off the bottom of the mag. I get the same exact thing all the time with this guy, which is not picky about ammo at all, but an underloaded cartridge is an underloaded cartridge, and that's just the nature of the beast with blowback. So you do have to shoot stuff that's a little spicy, something with a little bit more than standard velocity. I mean, they don't say to use hyper velocity, but I would consider high velocity like, just regular CCI mini mags, velocitors. I wouldn't use stingers, not just because of the velocity, but also the cartridge length can maybe jack with it. I haven't tried it in this, but anything with a little bit more snap to it. I mean, I've fired bulk through this, like I said, a lot of bulk through it, and it does feed and fire pretty good for the most part, but it is a little more picky than, say this guy, River SR-22. Another thing, it's for its size. I mean, this is, I don't know, I'm considering their intent for this to be a concealed carry piece, so they try to make it as small as possible, obviously. And in that sense, as a pocket pistol, this is pretty fat. I mean, we're talking about an inch and some change there. And it's not all in the slide, obviously, it's all in the grip. And that's kind of the drawback to having this nice, really good feeling grip. You also give up that nice thin profile that you should have for a pocket pistol, like say an LCP, Kel-Tec, P-32, P-3AT, something like that. Those are only about 3/4 of an inch wide. This thing is an inch and something. I mean, it's, again, for another size comparison here, full-size SR9 versus PT-22, you're looking at almost the same width of grip. So if you're like a full-size grip and you're trying to cram that in your pocket, I don't know, you can do it. I can fit it in my jeans, but you sit on it and you feel like you have this gigantic fat wallet made out of metal sticking in your butt. So not really good for that. Manual safety, again, completely redundant, not necessary. You have a long, again, double action triggers, long, heavy. I mean, it's probably 10 pounds at least. You do not need a manual safety. Why did they do this? Probably because so they can sell it in places like California, Massachusetts, and whatnot, because they require those stupid things. Also, along those same lines is a magazine disconnect. If you have the mag out, if you have the magazine out, it only lets you go back that far, and it stops. So there's a magazine disconnect. You also cannot actuate the slide. So slide in, and I'm not going to dry fire it because I don't have a snap cap in here, but see, pull back farther. So magazine disconnect, stupid, pointless, redundant. Don't know why they needed it on a pocket pistol other than just to satisfy the, you know, money-hungry lawyers. Another thing with this one, for some reason, I don't know if it was just the place that I got it from, or maybe they changed from some of their other things. Taurus usually is pretty good about giving you a second magazine when you buy the gun. This one just came with the one. It just had one magazine with it. And again, regardless of what role you're looking at for planking or for self-defense or whatever, a second magazine is always good to have, and this did not come with it. Now that wouldn't be a huge issue if not for the fact that these things are really expensive and hard to find. We're talking like $30 or so for this kind of flimsy feeling stamped sheet metal rinky-dink magazine. You know, 30-something or so, and that's if you can find one. They're usually sold out everywhere. And the only way I was able to find one is by chance I happened upon a used one at the local gun shop from an older model. And this is a older PT-22 from the metal framed, aluminum frame style, type, the ones that were basically a direct copy almost of the Beretta. And nice thing about the ability to use the older magazines with this is the base plate that goes on here. Pull this out here. The base plate is removable on there. It has a little screw on there. When you pop the base plate off here, this pinky extension, you unscrew that little deal, and this metal plate here comes off. You can slip that back on there to retain your spring, so it's still functional. You just don't have an extra 1/4 inch of stuff hanging off. And the end result is you have an extra 1/4 inch of clearance there. You can fit this into tighter pockets and such. And if you're one of those people that just doesn't like that pinky extension on there, there to go. It takes care of that issue. So just another option for you. One downside of that though is the mags on this doesn't drop free, and that's also another gripe on here in general. But when you don't have that pinky extension to grab a hold of, it's kind of, you have to get your fingernails in there and pull it out. Versus with regular mags, that little indentation, so when you push the button, it's a lot easier to pull out. Versus SR22, ejects them real easy. So kind of a nitpicky thing. Again, this is not something you're going to be doing speed reloads or anything on. You're not going to do any IDPA competition with this, I don't think. And as I also mentioned, the skinny trigger is kind of uncomfortable. It's really thin. It's smooth on the front, but it's just really thin, and it just digs in your, whether you're using your knuckle or your tip of your finger, whatever, however you prefer. It's just not comfortable. They could have made that wider. I don't know why they didn't, considering the overall width of the thing, but whatever. Another gripe, loading magazines on this. These magazines, again, are just not the best made. But most magazines on your 22 semi-autos are going to have these nice little tabs on here that you can pull down, and you can just drop your rounds into the top, basically. It's almost like having a speed loader built into it. And just about every major manufacturer out there has been using this method. Ruger, Sig, Walter, you know, all of the above. For some reason, Taurus thought they could get by with these little itty-bitty nubs, and you really can't hardly use your fingers to do it. You almost have to use your thumbnail, your fingernails or something, or you have to get one of those plastic doohickeys like Upalula or whoever makes them that catches on there, and you push it down so then you can stick your rounds in there. So really awkward. And not only that, even when you have that, you still have the issue of these sharp edges. It's like I said, this is cheap stamped sheet metal, and you get these sharp edges on there. It tears up your thumbs when you're sticking them in there, and I don't know, it's just, again, I'm just griping about some little stuff here, but that's something to consider if you're going to put a lot of stuff through this in the range for fun or whatever. And as mentioned, the mags don't drop free. I believe that's probably a result of the magazine disconnect probably dragging on there. Other than that, those are kind of just nitpicky little things, nothing major. Again, this has been, for the most part, a very reliable thing. The only ammo I found, really, that it doesn't like, as long as you got sufficient velocity. It doesn't seem to like Winchester bolt because it has kind of a wide mouth on the hollow point. Otherwise, I can run cheap Federal, I run CCI, a Gia, you know, just whatever you want to throw in there. It'll feed, fire, and eject just fine. Even though it does not have an extractor, it uses inertia to kick it out and a little ejector pin in there. That's it. Again, very simple. So overall, I mean, it's great for, you know, just plinking. Nice little backup gun. If you do use it for any kind of serious self-defense role at all, definitely use good ammo. That kind of goes without saying, but this is my choice here. Velocitor, sort of a baby gold dot design. You still have a 40 grain bullet, but it is a hollow point. May or may not expand coming out of this. I've seen most ammo tests I've seen with it, it does expand, even coming out of this little guy. And you still have the 40 grain weight, so you're not cutting it down to 36 or 32 like some other hollow points. And you're getting 1435 velocity out of a rifle. Out of something like this is going to be more like 900, but it's still better than, you know, a lot of other ones would be like 700 or so. If you don't go that route, you can always go any kind of a good, respectable, solid nose 40 grain. Mini mags are a very, very good option also. I know I'm probably sound like a spokesperson for CCI, but that's really good stuff for rimfire. Always goes bang. Always feeds, fires, eject. It's all good stuff. So anyways, that's the long and short of it. That's, for what it's worth, my 2 cents on that. Thanks for watching.